Our next presenter is Ava Mitra from Brigham Young and Women's Hospital. Not Brigham Young. No, well, anyway, is that somewhere in Utah or something? Anyway, you know, at least I still have associative memory. Thank you.
Hello. Okay, everybody can hear me? Thanks for hanging out for my talk. I'm Ava Mitra from Brigham and Women's Hospital, not Brigham Young. And this is a project I've been working with Dr. Jeremy Wolfe, and it's called Knowing What You Missed in Mixed Hybrid Search. And to get started, we're just gonna define mixed hybrid search. This is the second visual search talk, so you probably know what a visual search is. You're just looking for something, and there's a lot of things you're not looking for around it. So we're gonna do something you've probably never done and do a demo, okay? So you're looking for this, that's your target. When you find him, clap. Okay, pretty quick. So you found him, now we're gonna do a hybrid search, which you just have multiple targets at the same time, okay? So if you find any one of these things, clap. Also pretty quick, good job, you found the soot. So then in a mixed hybrid search, it's similar in that you are looking for multiple different things at the same time, but some of your targets that you're looking for are specific and some of them are categorical. So for the next one, you're looking for one of these two specific items, or you're also looking for any animal or any fruit. So if you find something that fits that target, clap. Okay, yeah, it's a little less sure, but you found Ponyo. But it's possible that a bunch of you did not notice the crab, which is an animal and so also a target. So this type of search is also very relevant and something we do all the time in the real world, okay? So let's say you're driving, you've got your exit that you're on the lookout for, but you also should be looking out for things that are categorical and you don't want to hit with your car. That would be your category, right? Things you don't want to hit with your car. Because sometimes there are groundhogs out there and they have a death wish. So you have to be careful for these types of things so you can't just be focused on your exit. And this is also very relevant in the world of medicine, where the repercussions can be lawsuits or people's lives. And so if you're a radiologist who's been tasked with looking for signs of pneumonia in a CT scan, it's also very important for you to be on the lookout for the general category of incidental findings, which are just clinically significant findings besides the main thing that you're searching for, and this can be signs of cancers, broken ribs, etc. So we developed this mixed hybrid search model in order to study these errors in the lab. And what we know so far from the experiments we've done is that people tend to miss these categorical targets, here in purple, a lot more often than they miss the specific targets. When we stagger the prevalence, have 80-20 prevalence for specific versus categorical, and even when we do 50-50 split between the target types, people are missing these categorical targets a lot more often. Knowing this, where do we go next? What we were curious about is, all right, we see that people miss these targets, right? We know that, but is all of the information once you miss something just gone? Or is there some sort of implicit information that people can access later? So what happens when we tell participants, hey, you missed something? Are they able to tell us something about the item that they missed? For example, if they missed the crab, are they able to tell us, yeah, I kind of remember missing something animally? Or are they able to tell us something specific to the crab itself? Spoiler alert, we found that people do show some sort of partial knowledge about the stimuli that they missed. But we were nervous that maybe the explanation's kind of boring, right? What if it's just an artifact of the method that we implemented? For that reason, we think we might have controlled for it, but here's the task. Participants are given their categorical targets. You're looking for any animals and any cars, but at the same time, you're also on the lookout for two specific items. For example, this mask and this sign. They do a memorization task, and once they succeed, they move on to the search itself. So they see the stimulus on the screen for about 3 seconds. They can click on the targets while they're up on the screen. Then after 3 seconds, they're replaced by placeholders, but people could still continue clicking if they notice something in a location. And then once they've determined that they're good with the search, they're like, yep, I've got everything, or I'm sure there's nothing on the screen. They click on the blue to continue to the next trial. There can be anywhere between 8, 12, or 16 items on the screen. And they did 600 total trials, half of which did not have a target, and 40% had just one target, and 10% had two. We also did the same staggering of the ratio to make sure that only 20% were categorical targets and 80% were specific. After doing each of the search trials, they also did our one of two confidence rating questions. The purpose of this was for us to gauge to see if people have some sort of awareness of their performance itself. In this case, if people rated highly, they would be telling us that, yeah, I'm sure I did that search task really well. And if they're rating low, they're saying, okay, I don't think I did my best, basically. And they did this after every single search trial. They also then did, for every time they missed an item during search, or for 50% of the target absent trials, they did what we are calling the inattentional blindness style questions. And before the IB people get mad, let me explain why, okay? So in a typical IB style experiment, or you have, let's say the gorilla that appears, and it's an unexpected stimuli that appears while people are doing a different task. Then you ask them, there's one critical trial, and you ask them, did you see something unexpected, or did you see something weird on the screen? And then they respond. In our case, obviously, the target that they're missing is not unexpected. It is something that they're actively asked to look for. And there's not just one critical trial, because they're missing these items lots of times. The reason we're calling it inattentional style is because we're using that same idea of trying to gauge if people have an awareness of this thing that they missed. So every time that they miss the specific item, we give them this 2AFC, 2 alternate force choice question, to see if they can pick the right thing. And for the conditions where they missed the categorical target, we give them 6 options. And the purpose of giving them the 6 options is because if they're missing the crab, we want to know, let's say they missed the crab during the search, okay? Then we make them do the 6 AFC and we say, hey, you missed something, which one did you miss? If they also miss the crab here, what are the chances that they're beating chance at picking at least the right crab category, which would be animals? So if they're missing the crab, are they at least still getting an animal? Right, so we're trying to gauge to see if it's crab information left over or animal information, obviously those examples. Also, after every time they do one of these 2 or 6 AFC questions, we are asking them our second confidence question. You'll remember the first one was about the search itself. This one is about the answer that they just picked. We want to know if people are rating highly, saying, yeah, I know for a fact that I just picked the crab and I know that's the right answer. Or if they're saying, yeah, I think I just guessed from the 2 or 6 items that you gave me. So that's the purpose of this question. What we find generally is that, once again, nice replication of the standard mixed hybrid search experiment. People are missing the categorical items a lot more often than they miss the specific. Great. Let's move on. How are they rating their confidence? This is for the first search questions that we asked, or the first confidence question. So it's about the search itself. And it seems that people are generally pretty confident, which makes sense, like for a lot of these trials, they are just target absent trials, but people are generally pretty confident. And this dips a little bit when they miss something, but still pretty high. People seem generally still very confident about their performance, even if they miss. So it seems that there's not a whole lot of awareness about missing something. They tend to think that they didn't miss anything when they did. When we break that down further into the target types, so whether it's a categorical miss or a specific, what we see is these graphs. The confidence is a little bit lower in the case of a specific item miss, so it seems like they're a little more aware when they miss something that was a specific item as opposed to if they miss something that falls into one of the target categories. But here's a big question, right? So how are people then performing when we make them pick between either the 2 or 6 items? Are they able to beat chance? And yeah, what the results show is that yeah, people are beating chance. Here we've graphed on the x-axis chance performance and on the y the correct response. And basically anything that falls in that middle line would show that people are guessing. And anything that falls above, people are not guessing. And you can see it's pretty nice that people are not guessing. There seems to be some sort of partial information. For the 6 AFC task, remember we asked that to see if they had some sort of categorical information left over if they didn't get the right item. Turns out that was not the case. Whatever partial information they had was either about the crab itself or there was nothing animally left over if that didn't work out. But here's the boring explanation that we were worried about. what if this is what's happening during search? They're looking from item to item, they're deciding, okay, yep, there's nothing on the screen, I'm ready to move on. But right as they're clicking, they notice, I just saw the crab. But at that point, they had already they already made the click to go to the next trial. So that's not that fun, right? Like, what if they just know just because they saw it? So that was a boring explanation we were a little bit worried about. So, in the second confidence question we asked them, how confident are you that you just picked the right item? So we just took out the trials where they rated really highly and said, yeah, I am sure that I just picked the right item from this 2 or 6 item lineup that you gave me. And what we find is that people are still beating chance at doing this task. So overall, that looks nice. For the specific case, it becomes a little sketchier, but overall, people are beating chance. So there seems that people have some sort of feeling about the item that they're missing, right? But then there's that nagging question. What if it is just one of those things where they realize it right after they commit to quitting the trial? So we wanted to replicate it just to make sure we could kind of weed out those, oops, I just saw the crab kind of errors, because those are not as interesting. So in our new version, we left the stimulus up on the screen until people told us, yes, there's a target or there's no target. But every time they told us that they didn't think there was a target, we doubled down and said, are you sure, or do you want to reverse your answer? So this was the chance for them, if it was one of those, oh yeah, I just saw the crab kind of moments, they can say, oh yeah, I want to reverse back to saying that there was a target. In that case, they would get their points, it would be a late true positive, they move on to the next trial. But only when they commit and tell us, no, I am positive that there was nothing on the screen, and they actually missed something, only then we label that a true miss, and then we give them the 2 AFC option. Because we're trying to get rid of all of the answers, we're trying to give them as many opportunities to tell us if they think they missed anything. And what we find is that people are beating chance pretty nicely in this case. And this, keep in mind, is we gave them all the chances to tell us, do you think you missed something? And then they, answer the question. They tell us, no, I'm positive there was nothing on the screen. And then we tell them, hey, there was actually something on the screen, and which one was it? And turns out they're beating chance at getting that right. So overall, we got a nice, clean replication of all of the versions of the study that we got. So in summary, there's partial information left over. People are not completely clueless when they do miss something. Obviously, partial knowledge is still knowledge. But the main question is then, how do we access that information and possibly recover it, specifically in maybe the clinical setting? We're open to suggestions if you have any clues on where we can go next, but stay tuned. Thank you so much for hanging out for my talk. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks for the talk. Wouldn't you expect a priming effect from a missed category or from a missed target?
A priming effect, yeah. I think there's definitely that possibility that there was some sort of priming effect. But we do ask the question after a couple different steps, so I imagine there would be something else happening in as well. It wouldn't just purely be a priming effect.
I wonder what you think might be the mechanism by which they recover this information, whether you think they're trying to reinstate, or when you try it yourself, are you trying to reinstate the image that you just saw and say, oh yes, or are you saying that there's something just more like implicit that is guiding the decision?
Yeah, that's a great question. Myself, when I was doing the task, I've been kind of wondering, like, okay, so what sort of information? Because when I do the task and I think I did well, but then I'm told, oh, you didn't, the type of information, I'm trying to recreate that image I had of the search screen itself. So I've wondered, oh, maybe it is some sort of like color information, but then a lot of our stimuli that we use are pretty diverse in the colors, and it's a lot of like blacks and browns, and because it's just random photos. So I'm not sure, but that's a good question.
Okay, one more if it's really quick.
Yeah, thank you for the talk. So how do you think this kind of residual knowledge relates to that it was actually like a target category, or that it was like, would you find the same thing if you asked them about non-target categories?
Sorry, can you repeat that first part? I couldn't hear
Yeah,
you.
so how do you think these findings, this residual knowledge that they have, does it relate, is it specific for target categories, or would you expect to find the same thing for non-target categories? Is it an intentional thing, or is it the whole display that they kind of remember?
Yeah, so when we did look at the specific targets or the target categories, we didn't find any evidence that people were retaining any of that information, which is why we kind of went back to that 2AFC design later. But I imagine whatever is at play for the target, it's probably similar for the non-targets as well. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thank you.